Om 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 Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamasto Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahma Nidaye Vasishtaya Namo Namaha Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam. Hari Om. So yesterday I think we stopped somewhere with 4 verses. The previous verse we saw was Yuktahara Viharasya Yukta Cheshtasya Karmasu Yukta Swapnava Bodhasya Yogo Bhavati Dukkhaha. How does a yogi become free of sorrow? Now this 18th verse, Yada Viniyatam Chittam Atmanyeva Vatisthate Nisprihas Sarva Kamebhyaha Yukta Ityuchyate Tada. These verses are now explaining about the yogi, the qualities of the yogi. Yada Viniyatam Chittam. Chittam is Chit plus Ta. Chit means consciousness. Ta stands for object. The sense objects, 5 sense objects of perception and 5 sense objects of action. Takaro vai Vishayaha. Vishaya is object. So Chit plus Ta is equal to consciousness plus object of consciousness. There is Chittam. The thoughts in the mind, the feelings, the emotions, the sense objects that we experience, seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, then the experience of speaking, holding, the experience of walking, the organ of reproduction and the organ of excretion, all these come under the realm of chitta. So when these are controlled, chit plus ta, the objects are controlled, and then where is it kept? Atmani eva avatishtate. Instead of allowing it to roam outside, the latest studies in psychology, very interesting, talks about projections. Why our problems are becoming manifold? Because when a thought or a feeling arises in us, instead of taking responsibility for the feeling, we project it on others, and then we blame the other person for being jealous, for being angry, for being hateful, for being vengeful, when in reality these qualities are all arising in us, in the chittam. So controlling the chittam means controlling these kinds of thoughts and feelings, working them out, letting them go, reasoning them out, or doing sadhana in such a way that they just leave us and go. Purification of mind. And then what happens? Atmani eva avatishtate. The individual lives in the self as the self alone, meaning only consciousness and not object for consciousness. Chit is divorced from ta, object. The thought is divorced from the light of consciousness within. The emotion is divorced from the power within that feeds the emotion. The sense object is divorced from the attachment to the sense object in terms of power. Atmani eva avatishtate. Then that person, what happens? Nisprihaha sarvakamebhyaha. From all desires, he becomes nispriha. He does not have any attachment, or rather does not give any importance to desires. He is called a yukta. Yukta ityuchyate. Iti uchyate means he is called a yukta, an integrated personality, a yogi. When can the water be integrated? When the water remains just as water, the water is said to be integrated, meaning high quality, pure quality. When does the mind become integrated? When the mind is just its source, consciousness, then the mind is supposed to be integrated. If the mind is having all desires, all emotions, all thoughts, all feelings, and all attachments to sense objects in it, which is constantly disturbing the mind and throwing the mind into waves or vrittis, then it is an unintegrated mind. Yada viniyatam chittam visheshena niyate samyatam ekagratam apannam. Visheshena niyatam means we put special efforts to withdraw the mind, to quieten the mind through the practice of yoga, through the practice of meditation, through shravanam, listening to the words of wisdom from the master. Then mananam, contemplating on those words. Nidhidhyasanam, meditating upon those words. These are the ways by which the mind is quietened. Ekagratam apannam, such a mind becomes one-pointed. Chittam hitva, bahya chintam, atmani eva kevale avatishtate. In the self alone, that mind is resting. Swa-atmani sthitim labhate ityarthaha. The mind becomes one with its source, one with itself. Nisprihaha sarvakamebhyaha nirgataha drishta adrishta vishayebhyaha. Spriha, trishna. Trishna is craving. Spriha is trishna, and trishna is craving. Spriha is craving for objects. Yasya yoginaha. For that yogi, there is no craving after objects that have been seen by us and enjoyed by us, and objects that have been heard by us. Heard means like heaven, higher worlds, experiences after this lifetime ends. There is the otherworldly pleasures. We don't have any craving for all that. Such a yogi, iti uchyate, samahita, samyak ahita manaha. The mind has become one-pointed. One-pointed means the mind is just contemplating on its source, or on Ishvara, on the Guru, on the Master. There are many great things on which the mind can be focused on. Such a mind is a pure mind. Uchyate tada tasmin kale. At that point, when it becomes one-pointed, it is called a yukta manaha, samahita manaha. Tasya yoginaha samahitam yat chittam tasya upama uchyate. Upama means comparison, simile. How does the mind that attains that state of quietude, that state of one-pointedness, how does that person's mind look like? That's a simile given in this next verse. Yatha deepo nivatastha Nengate sopama smrita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha. Yatha, in which manner, deepaha, the flame of the lamp, the flickering flame of the lamp, nivatastaha. You've seen a lamp when there is wind blowing, and you've seen the lamp which is burning beautifully, kept in a glass case. It is not touched by air. That flame is steady. Nivatastaha. There is no air in that place. Such a lamp burning steadily, na ingate, does not move here and there. Sa upama smrita. That is the example of a mind which is a quiet and a settled mind. Yoginaha yata chittasya. For the yogi, whose chittam, chitta means with the sense objects, consciousness, there is no craving and going after anything. So there is a quietude in the mind. Yata chittasya yunjataha yogam atmanaha. He is integrated with his own true nature of consciousness, and so the mind becomes one pointed and quiet, like a lamp that does not flicker because there is no wind to move the fire around. Yatha deepaha pradipaha nivatastha nivataha vatavarjite deshe stitaha. Like a lamp that is burning in a place which is free of air, meaning it has enough oxygen for it to burn. We don't need to take the example too deeply. The example here is when no wind is blowing, how the lamp is steady. Na ingati, na chalati. Ingati means moving, na chalati, not moving. Sa upama upamiyate anaya iti upama yogajnaihi. The one who knows the art of yoga, the one who knows the art of integrating the mind, chitta prachara darshibihi. They are able to see the mind, the movement of the mind. They are watching the movement of the mind. Smrita chintita yoginaha yata chittasya samyata antakaranasya yunjataha yogam anutishtata atmanaha samadhim anutishtata ityarthaha. Such a mind is staying in a state of samadhi. Samyak adhiyate manaha iti samadhi, says Sadashiva Brahmendra, explaining the word yoga and samadhi. Yujya samadhau. The meaning of the word yoga is also samadhi only. It is not actually integrating. It is staying in that integrated state. Evam yoga abhyasa balat ekagri bhutam nivata pradipa kalpam sat. When the mind becomes like that non-flickering, like the non-flickering flame, when the mind is steady, what happens to that person? Yatro par, there are 4 verses that come together. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati sukhamatyantikam yattat buddhigrahyamatīndriyam vetti yatra na chaivayam sthitaschalati tattvataha yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samhitam sanishchayena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinna chetasam. In the Bhagavad Gita, earlier also we have seen descriptions of yoga. Yoga karma sukhaushalam, samatvam yoga uchyate, and there are many descriptions or definitions of yoga in many other texts like Yoga Vasishta, the Yoga Sutras. But here a very interesting and beautiful definition of yoga is given. What happens? Yatra uparamate chittam. When the chit or consciousness plus objects of consciousness are not trained outward, they just quietly settle down within. The chittam is like that one doll we have seen. It contains water inside. There will be toys inside the water, small toys. It can be a small doll. If you press that button, the toys will go up. The small objects, round objects will go up. Everything will get disturbed. There will be movement. And then when you don't press any button, everything just settles down. There is no movement. That is chittam. The objects are there, but we are not pressing any trigger here for the chittam to want this, and there are no buttons that we press. And so the chittam lies very quietly. Yatra uparamate chittam. That is the chittam. Niruddham yoga sevaya. How does the chittam become quiet? The chittam or consciousness plus objects, they don't keep moving and they don't get disturbed because of yoga seva. Every day we are paying attention to bringing the mind and the intellect and the sense organs, the body and the prana together through many practices of yoga, which Bhagavan has spoken about in chapter 4, like pranayama, vrata, so many aspects of yoga, dhyana, niruddham yoga sevaya. So this is yoga seva. Yatra chaiva atmana atmanam pashyan atmani tushyati. So the individual who is consciousness begins to see himself as consciousness. Now we are not seeing ourselves as consciousness. We are seeing ourselves as the body. We are seeing ourselves as the breath. We are seeing ourselves as the mind. We are seeing ourselves as the intellect. We are seeing ourselves as a vital energy that feels hunger and thirst. So that is why we say, I am fat, I am thin, I am tall, I am short, I am dark, I am fair, I am hungry, I am thirsty, I am happy, I am sad, I am intelligent, I am stupid, I am good for nothing, I have no joy in me, I am excited, I am blissed out. All these things we say differently because we are identifying with these qualities. Without any identification, the individual is just the Atma, the self. Pashyan Atmani Tushyati. The self is blissful as the self itself. It needs nothing, it needs no excitement, it needs no validation, it needs no approval, it needs no fulfillments of desire from outside for it to be happy within. Tushyati. Tush. The dhatu is to be content. Contentment, that English word is also so beautiful. Content means that substance within. You're staying with that substance within, with that content within. You're not looking for anything outside. Sukham atyantikam yattat. So the person attains atyantikam sukham, extreme bliss, joy, happiness. Buddhi grahyam ati indriyam. So the joy, the bliss of being, which is beyond the sense organs, is contacted by the intellect. The thought realizes that joy within, which is beyond the intellect. The thought which was trained outside, outward through the sense organs all this time, has withdrawn, and when having nothing to do but except meditate and concentrate and focus within, the thought has realized or has understood that there's something joyful within. Atyantikam sukham atindriyam. It is beyond the perception of the sense organs. Veti atra nacha eva ayam sthitaha chalati tattvataha. So the one who knows this is established in that self, as the self. Yam labdhva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tataha. After attaining the state, that individual realizes, individual means a thought, the I which is searching for this. The I thought that is doing all this searching. That I thought realizes that I have attained that supreme bliss and there's nothing more joyful than this. Na adhikam tataha yasmin sthitaha na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. If that I thought begins to establish itself in this consciousness, gurunapi dukkham, even very, very great sorrows will not shake that I. Gurunapi dukkham na vichalyate. So tam vidyad, what is yoga? Know that to be yoga. Tam vidyad dukkha samyoga viyogam. What is making us attached to sorrow, that we repel. The mind with its likes and dislikes, the chittam with all its intricacies, the chittam in a state of motion, energized by the mind and energized by the consciousness, very actively craving for the objects of the world, when the craving goes away, the power to cause sorrow for the mind is gone. The power has been removed from the mind to create sorrow for that person. Dukkha samyoga. There is a power of ignorance that pastes me with the sorrow thought. If that power of ignorance is not there, it is like a paste. That ignorance is like a thick paste, and it just like Anabond or Fevistick or Feviquick. Such a kind of a paste it is. It is invisible and it does not have any physical presence. You cannot see any paste inside. That integrates the I thought and the object thought together. It pastes it together. When that paste is dissolved, when that ignorance is dissolved, dukkha samyoga viyogam. We are attached to dukkha. We are attached to sorrow, and that sorrow, that attachment is broken. Viyogam is, it is taken off. That is called yoga. What is yoga? We are attached to sorrow. We are attached to samsara. And yoga is that which removes the wind out of the sails of our sorrow. It removes the paste that unites the I thought and the sorrowful thoughts of the world. Sa nishchayena yoktavyaha yogaha anirvinna chetasa. Anirvinna chetasa means without giving any break, without any abhyasa and vairagya. Anirvinna means not giving any time for the meeting again to happen with sorrow, just keeping it apart. At one point of time, the power of attachment will go away completely. So till the time is achieved, practice yoga. Yatra yasmin kale uparamate chittam uparatim gacchati niruddham sarvataha nivarita pracharam yoga sevaya. The chitta is moving around everywhere. The chitta is brought together. All the five senses are brought together and they are placed in the mind. From its pracharam, from its progress outside, it is brought back. Nivarita pracharam. How is it brought back? By the practice of yoga. When we do pranayama, for example, we do anuloma viloma. Everyday consistent practice of anuloma viloma. Inhale through the left nostril. Exhale to the right. Inhale right. Exhale left. This is called Nadi Shodhana. It clears all the 72,000 nadis in our system. The nerve channels that take information through our system. So when we are going on focusing on this, the mind loses its contact with the outside world and becomes integrated. So yoga sevaya niruddham. Then what happens? Yatra eva yasmincha kale atmana samadhi parishuddhena antakaranena atmanam param Chaitanya jyotihi swarupam pashyan upalabhamanaha sve eva atmani tushyati tushtim bhajate. So there is something called Chaitanya. Chaitanya is that presence, that Brahman, which is reflected in our life in us. That is Chaitanya. When we come in contact with that life, we touch the source of all our bliss. There's nothing else more greater than that we would ever want. In fact, if you really wonder, or if you really look into it, what is it that makes us happy in this world? Whether it is with ourselves or whether it is with our loved ones around us, the presence of life is what keeps us happy. When life goes away out of somebody, we feel very, very sad. We feel sorrow. So, what gives us happiness is only life, consciousness. Samadhi parishuddhena antakaranena. The inner equipment, the manas, the mind, the intellect, the ego, which I thought, and the chittam, the objects of perception and action. the records of the experiences of the objects in the deeper unconscious mind, they become pure, meaning they don't have anything else other than consciousness. They are only there to serve consciousness, and they don't have any other master outside in the world to serve. Atmanam param chaitanya jyoti swarupam pashyan. When the person has seen that jyoti swarupam, the true form of consciousness within, upalabhamanaha sve eva atmani tushyati tushtim bhajate. That person feels content, and that person is serving that state of contentment within. Sukham atyantikam atyantameva bhavati iti atyantikam anantam ityartaha. Atyantikam sukham is endless joy. Yat tad buddhigrahyam buddhyaeva indriya nirapekshaya grihyate iti buddhigrahyam atindriyam indriya gocharaatitam avishaya janitam ityartaha. Avishaya janitam means causeless joy. Sometimes we feel causeless sorrow. We don't have any other thought or action outside any person around us to make us feel sorrowful, but we let out that feeling of sorrow which wells up from our chest. Sometimes we experience. In the same way, also joy, causeless sorrow is caused by our memories. Causeless joy, nothing from outside, but our memories have become pure, our mind has become pure, that we are experiencing only joy from within. And there is causeless joy, because there is no trigger outside to give that joy for us. We are joyful by experiencing that life within. Yat tat buddhigrahyam buddhya eva indriya nirapekshaya grihyate iti buddhigrahyam. What is buddhigrahyam? Taken by the buddhi without the support of the sense organs. The joy that is derived not by seeing something, but by feeling something within, some experience that we have within. Ati indriyam, it is beyond the sense organs. Indriya gochara atitam avishaya janitam ityartaha. It is not born out of any object. It is not born out of any name and form in the world outside. Veti tat idrisham sukham anubhavati yatra yasmin kale nacha eva ayam vidwan atmaswarupe sthitaha tasmat na evam chalati tattvataha tattvaswarupat na prachyavate ityartaha. Such a person who has realized the true joy within, he does not want to go away from that state of an experience into enjoying the pleasures of the world, the objects of the world, the objects of the pleasures that come from people around us, the pleasures that come from circumstances around us. He will not settle for all those things which just come and go. There is a beginning and end to it. This joy within has got no end to it. Yam labdhva, yam atmalabham labdhva, prapya cha aparam anyal labhantaram tataha adhikam asti iti na manyate chintayati kimcha yasmin atmatattve sthitaha dukkhena shastra nipatadi lakshanaha guruna mahata api na vichalyate. So the one who has realized that there is no greater joy than that experience of consciousness within, there's nothing else in the world outside, such a person is not touched by the sorrows of the world. And where do we get sorrows from? When we do not follow the indications of the Shastras on how to live, when we trip and fall. And there are some floor lights that are given to take the right path to exit that room. If we don't follow those floor lights and we take a detour into other parts of the room which is not lit, then we may trip and fall. And when we trip and fall, we go through sorrow. So that is what dukkha in this world means. Dukkha is doing things which are prohibited by the Shastras and not doing things which have been mentioned in the Shastras. both will be cause for dukkha. But even if we have done all that in the past, we don't live a life in tune with the Shastras all the time. We may not have that knowledge, we may not know. But still, if we practice yoga and we realize that consciousness within, then Guruna api dukkhena na vichalyate. Such a person will not be shaken. He will be unmoved by any kind of sorrow in this world. It cannot touch that person. Meaning it cannot really affect that person. The sorrow is actually touching only the body, it is touching the mind. If the person realizes that he is not the body and the mind, they are just objects of his perception, then the sorrow that touches the body and the mind will not be experienced by him. Even the body does not experience it because the body is inert by itself. But because the body is attached to the mind, which is drawing its sustenance from consciousness through the intellect, because that life is holding on everything in the body, mind, and intellect together, we are experiencing the pain of the world. Yatra uparamate iti arabhya yavadbihi visheshanaihi vishishta atma avasthita visheshaha yoga uktaha. So, the qualities of yoga have been explained. Tam vidyat vijaniyat dukkha samyoga viyogam dukkhaihi samyogaha dukkha samyogaha. What is attachment to sorrow is called dukkha samyogam. Tena viyogaha, being free from that, being free from attachment to sorrow. Dukkha samyoga viyogaha, tam dukkha samyoga viyogam, yoga iti evam samyitam. So what is yoga? Being free from attachment to sorrow is yoga. Evam samyitam, viparita lakshanena vidyat vijaniyat. It is not a direct. Yoga is integration of mind. It said samadhi is yoga. When the mind is integrated, we are in a state of yoga. When we are in a state of yoga, since the mind is integrated within, it is not like, suppose this is representing, this is representing, I'm not able to get everything is turned in this computer, left, right. So this is representing sorrow and this is representing yoga. This integrity has happened. Earlier integrity was not there, so we were attached with sorrow and the mind was experiencing pain. Now the mind has become integrated with its own self and it has detached. And so there is no attachment to sorrow. The mind is at peace. The sorrow cannot disturb the mind. Sorrow can disturb only when the mind is attached to sorrow. When the mind is free from that sorrow, sorrow does not have the capacity to come and disturb the mind. It can stay only where it is because it does not have consciousness of its own. It is inert. Tam dukkha samyoga viyogam vijaniyat. Yoga phalam upasamhritya punaha anvarambhena yogasya kartavyata uchyate. Nishchaya nirvedayoho nischaya anirvedayoho yoga sadhana tattva vidhanartham sa yatokta phalaha yogaha nischayena adhyavasayena yoktavyaha anirvinna chetasa. Na nirvinnam anirvinnam, meaning without any break, without any distortion. We have to work on integrating the mind with that consciousness within and detaching the mind from the objects of sense perceptions, which is yoga. Nirveda rahitena chetasa chittena ityartaha. Nirveda means becoming free of attachments. So what happens? How do we get attached? Sankalpa prabhavan kaman styaktva sarvana sheshataha manasaivendriya gramam viniyamya samantataha shanai shanairuparameta buddhya dhriti grihitaya atma samstam mana kritva na kinchidapi chintayet yato yato nischarati manaschanchalamastiram Tatastato niyam yaitat atmanyeva vasham nayet. We will conclude with these three verses. Sankalpa prabhavan kaman tyaktva. We give up desires. Where are desires born? Desires are born from our sankalpa, samyak kalpaha, proper thoughts in our mind. Meaning, we do not know how those thoughts are formed inside. When the thoughts are actually formed, we are not aware. But at one point of time, the thoughts become very strong over a period of being energized by the life within. The thought becomes strong and it makes us go after the objects of thought without even our control. Sankalpa prabhavan, kaman tyaktva. Drop all those desires which are all born out of sankalpa. How to drop the desires? Asankalpat jayet kamaha. When there's a desire, for example, if I want to drink coffee, instead of going for the cup of coffee and drinking it and then going with the other work, if I want to quit the drinking of coffee, I sit down and I ask myself, what is that desire in my mind? How is the formation of that sentence? The sentence will be, I love coffee. I am crazy about coffee. I can't be without coffee. These are the sentences that are there in the mind. And these sentences have become thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and that are driving our behavior towards coffee. So if we want to withdraw from that addiction or attachment of anything, we just have to take a step back at the moment of that attachment and throughout the day also. It does not happen at the time of attachment. The rest of the day, when we are not having the thought, we sit and analyze our mind. What is it that I have to think about that particular subject? Even writing it down will help us to see those thoughts and remove the thoughts from our mind and put it on paper. When you see Sankalpa Prabhavan Kamans Tyaktva, it is said Tyaktva. How to leave it is, there are many, many ways. This is one way of taking the thought out of the head and putting it on paper and constantly, consistently working on it. Tyaktva Sarvan Asheshataha. Ashesha means without even letting anything remain, any sankalpas or desires which are there in the intellect, in the thought, without letting them to remain, remove everything. Manasa eva indriya gramam viniyamya. With the mind, control the city of the senses. Which is the city of the senses? The eyes, which show forms, the ears, which reveal names to us, and sounds to us, the nose, which reveals smells, the tongue, which reveals tastes, and the skin, which reveals sensations. Withdraw from everything. Indriya gramam viniyamya samantataha. From all directions, withdraw the mind. Shanaihi shanaihi uparamet. Don't try to do it in a hurry. This is a career of a lifetime, to withdraw the mind. Don't try to do it fast. The more we try to do it with force, the more the mind will jerk back. Shanaihi shanaihi uparamet. Slowly, slowly work at it with love, with compassion, with gratitude, with intelligence. Work on it. Buddhya dhriti grihitaya. Hold on to fortitude with the intellect. Fortitude means persistently being at it, consistently working on it. Grihitaya. And then Atma samstam manakritva. Place that mind. Mind is something that is knowing through the sense or objects. Remove the consciousness from the sense objects and place it in the self within. Manakritva. Na kinchid api chintayet. After doing that, don't think about anything else. Be free in that state of joy, in that state of bliss. So Bhagavan Adisankaracharya says, Sankalpa prabhavan kaman, Sankalpaha prabhavaha yesham kamanam, te Sankalpa prabhavaha kamaha, tan tyaktva parityajya, sarvan asheshataha, nirlepena, kimcha, manasa eva viveka yuktena, indriya gramam, indriya samudayam, viniyamya, niyamanam kritva, samantata. From all directions, withdraw the mind. Shanai shanaihi. Na sahasa uparamed, uparatim kurya. Don't do it immediately. Kaya buddhya kim vishishtaya dhriti grihitaya dhritya dhairyena, with a lot of courage. We need a lot of courage to do this work. It doesn't happen. Atma there is no self-realization for the person who does not have strength and courage. Dhairyena grihitaya dhriti grihitaya dhairyena yuktya ityartha. With logic and with courage, go ahead and do it. Atma samstam atmani samstitam atma eva sarvam na tataha anyat kinchid asti. The self alone is, there is nothing else other than the self. There's nothing else that I need to go after. There is nothing else that I need to desire. There's nothing else that will make me happy. There's nothing else that I will want other than the self. This is the firm thought within. Asti iti evam atma samstam manaha kritva na kinchid api chintayet esha yogasya paramaha vidhi. This is a supreme rule of yoga. This is the guidelines of yoga, supreme guidelines of yoga. Withdraw the mind, place it in the self, and don't even think after that that there's anything greater than the self that you can enjoy in this world. And then yato nishcharati, but the mind is a creature of habits. It will go away from that state and go after sense pleasures again. Manas chanchalam asthiram. The mind is always asthiram. It is unstable and it is moving. Tatas tato niyamya etata. Whenever it moves, then you bring back the mind. Atmani eva vasham nayet. Bring it back to the self. Yato yasmat nimittat shabdadehi nishcharati. Shabdadehi means because of the sounds, the forms, the smells, the taste, and the feeling, the mind may go out. Whenever it goes out, bring back the mind. Shabdadehi nischarati nirgachati swabhava doshata. Swabhava means it's our nature. We don't need to condemn ourselves for it. We don't need to judge ourselves for it. With compassion and with love, we do it. Manas chancham atyartham chalam ataeva asthiram tataha tasmat shabdadehi nimittat niyamya tata. So when it goes after something, where is the mind going? It is going after that sense object. So can the sense object give me joy always? No, it is only a temporary pleasure. Do I want temporary pleasure, or do I want to be in a state where I'm always happy for no other reason except being my own self? When you ask this question, the mind will start coming back. When the mind is experiencing the joy within, it'll come back on its own very easily. So until that state is achieved, we have to put in a little effort. Astiram tataha tasmat shabdadehi nimittat niyamya tat nimittam yathatmya nirupanena abhasi kritya vairagya bhavanaya cha etad manaha atmani eva vasham nayet atma vashyatam apadayet evam yogabhyasa balat yogina atmani eva prashamyati manaha. By yoga abhyasa means dirghakala, for a long period of time. Nairantariya, consistently every day. Satkara, giving a lot of respect to that practice. It is an important thing that I am doing. It is not just another job that I am doing. This quietening of the mind, it's very important. Satkarya, asevita, giving my full attention to it. Then it becomes dridha bhumi. It becomes very firm. And vairagya is withdrawing from the sense objects which we have seen, heard, tasted, smelled, and touched, felt, and withdrawing from what we have heard in the Vedas about desires about the other world, the heavens, and other things. So withdrawing from that, constantly bring back the mind. Shanaihi tatastataha niyamya Atma Vashyatam Apadayet. Evam Yoga Abhyasa Balat. By this constant practice, Yogina Atmani Eva Prashamyati Manaha. the yogi becomes quiet in one's own self. So we will see from the 27th verse tomorrow. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kasyat Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasorma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Boliye Shri सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. हर नमः पार्वती पतये. हर हर महादेवा. हरि ओम.